Cam and I can here tonight for 45 minutes or so, answer as many questions as we can get through, and whatever is on your mind from an equipment standpoint, anything in the golf industry that you guys want to kind of ask us and throw at us, we're more than happy to field any of the questions tonight.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so why don't we chat a little bit about, obviously, Bubba back in the winner's circle last week. So, full bag, always a full bag of ping equipment for Bubba.
Yeah.
He's been a long time ping staff. I mean, probably their most successful staff player in the last 10 years, really, Bubba.
Easily 10 tour wins.
You look at 10 tour wins, couple of majors.
Yeah.
Consistently.
President's Cup, Ryder Cups.
Yeah.
Always in the money.
Without a doubt.
At one point, top 15 or 10 player in the world. He might have peaked at one point, top 10.
He would have been top 10 for sure.
Yeah.
So let's run through his bag. So he's got a bit of a kind of odd selection of kind of woods. He's got the G400 LS Tech with the Graphite bi-matrix.
Yeah, which is
okay. So we've got the Graphite top with the steel tip section. I mean, that's a shaft that's been around for at least 15 years. At least 15 years. Fairway wood, I think he's still rocking the Ping G with the Fujikura VC 8.2.
Yep.
X-Flex, obviously. And he's using the Ping G hybrid also.
Yeah.
Irons wise, he's using an old set of irons, isn't he? He's using the S55s.
Yeah.
I think he's using an iBlade 2 iron, which I saw, but X100s and all of those,
Tour issues.
and some glide wedges.
Yeah.
So I think the big thing for Bubba, the talking point that was kind of on everyone's lips was he's finally winning again, and he's got that Titleist ball back in.
Yeah.
So he obviously signed that contract with Volvic golf balls, and maybe never quite worked out for him. Sometimes you never know with these things, whether it's just timing and his form was bad, and you could have used any golf ball and been playing bad. So
went back to Old Faithful and boom, won.
Sometimes it works that way.
Yeah.
We saw Tiger make some changes.
He did, yeah. Tiger went back to his old matrix shaft.
Yeah.
He went away from the 10C white, won with something a little more stout.
Yeah. He went to the TP6 HDE in his driver, a shaft he's used before. Previous edition he used was the 75 gram version. He went a slightly lighter this time, but I think he was saying he felt like he could go at it pretty hard and really not lose the accuracy.
Exactly.
I don't know if that was quite the case, but he was certainly a little bit better last week than he was.
A little better.
He was at Torrey.
And even today, his round, I didn't see his driving stats, but to shoot 70 at PGA National is a good score.
Pretty good.
Wind likes to blow around that bear trap pretty heavily.
Without a shadow of a doubt. So we're hoping, like all golf fans, that he's gearing well towards Augusta and that type of thing. So his game seems to be decent, but on the way back.
Yeah.
Buy him some time. So guys, fire your questions in. We had one question in prior to the show starting, which was about graphite shafts.
Why more PGA Tour players play graphite shafts in their driving irons versus a steel shaft?
Okay. I mean, so obviously, the driving iron has made a real comeback over the last couple of years. A lot of players are going towards these really kind of hot iron heads rather than using hybrids, just feeling like they can control it a little bit more.
Better. Exactly.
That type of thing. So we're seeing some of the lighter graphite shafts, or certainly lighter than what they have in their irons, going towards 100, 110 grams.
Yep.
Jason Day, I know he's a big fan of that UST Recoil 110 prototype.
Yep.
Martin Keimer just put that in play in his UDI TaylorMade long irons. So for the viewer who's asking that question, the reason they do that is obviously once it gets to that length of iron, which is normally around 39 and a half inches, when you're using a 130 gram steel shaft, the thing starts to feel really quite heavy.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those clubs, the driving iron, where it's a multi-functional club. It's not just an iron. It's actually, you want it to be able to go a little bit further.
Exactly.
So having a little bit of a lighter shaft in there gives you that extra gear where you can maybe hit it, another 10, 15 yards if you really want it. So that 110 gram range is really the sweet spot for the long iron clubs. We're actually just in the process of putting together our utility iron matrix here. So we're going to have a bunch of the different heads in the market, the TMB, the Strixon U65, the UDI from
UDIs,
TaylorMade.
the Apex.
Apex, yep. We've got the Mizuno, the new MP Fly High. Who else?
I'm sure we'll throw the Miura.
Yeah,
Throw the Miura.
The new Miura driving iron, which a lot of.
Kevin Chappell's been playing that.
Yeah.
Kevin Chappell just put a nice brand new set of Miura irons in the bag.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So yeah, no, that's kind of what we're seeing from the driving irons.
First question for you guys. Someone who's leaving the face open and getting like 4,000, 5,000 spin, big high fade. They're asking about a shaft change in terms of controlling the spin, but what would you recommend as the most effective way to dial that number back to something manageable?
Sure. I mean, if the person doesn't mind, who's asking the question, Matty? Did it say?
This is Drake.
Drake. Okay. Drake, if you can fire back another little question to us with a little info as to what your current driver is, I can give you a better idea as to why that might be happening without really having that starting point. It's a bit of a difficult one. Generally speaking, leaving the club face open, some of the solutions are, you know, the shaft you're using might be a fraction too long, might be a fraction too stiff, might be a little bit heavy. So you're not really able to kind of close the face and shut it down. So lose that loft. And really the excess dynamic loft is where the extra backspin's coming from. So it really depends on what the current setup is. So if you don't mind kind of answering, you've got that? Perfect.
Yeah, so he's got an M2 stock 56 gram stiff flex.
Okay, Fujikura 56. And M2 2016 or 17, does it say?
Doesn't say.
Okay, maybe shoot that one in. But either way, you know, long is the first thing that springs to mind. The stock shafts in most people's products, not single and TaylorMade out, but all the companies tend to make their stock shafts too long.
46.
Yeah.
46.
So I would go shorter. I would certainly get into something with a little internal heel bias. We were doing some testing today with M4 draw heads and Callaway Rogue draw heads. Both are phenomenal for that person who leaves the face a little open. So maybe a little bit of testing with your current gamer versus those two might yield a pretty good result for you.
Strixon irons,
Yep.
765 versus the 965 for kind of a single-digit handicap player. Obviously, coming in to get fit is important, but generally speaking, where would be a good place to start with those two?
Either or. 765 is also the mid-range. 565 is a little bit more forgiveness. 765 is that middle tour, and that 975 more that blade look.
Is the question, Matty, like where to transition those in terms of if you're going to combo them, you know, that type of thing? Because that's the biggest thing with the Strixon irons that we see. It's so easy to combo the set across the board. So we actually have some customers who use the 500 series in the long irons, the 700s in the mid irons, and the 900s in the short irons. You know, because that's the way they're designed. You've got the nice, you know, forgiving high launch out the fives. You've got the great feel, good look, but still some forgiveness in the sevens. And then obviously you've got your classic 900 series blade, thinner top line, thinner sole, so better turf interaction, that type of thing. So just all around a great set, great range of irons.
So if you would say that, you know, it's worth trying both, and if you find that the 765s, you know, are a little tougher to hit, keep those in the shorter irons and then transition to the 965s and longer irons?
Other way around.
Sorry, it's the other way around.
So the nines and the shorts.
That's why I'm behind the camera.
But, you know, yeah, absolutely. I think for what I've seen, the 965 has surprised a lot of people with how easy it is to hit. The ball speed maintenance, it doesn't really drop off as much as some other blades might. So it's a little bit more forgiving than some of the blades I've certainly tested. We don't have many blades in our demo matrix.
We have a couple
you know,
Miuras and then mostly that.
Without doubt. So you need to obviously really be on point with your striking to get the most out of a blade iron. But we see probably the 965 is as forgiving a blade iron as there is out there.
For sure.
Yep.
Wedge fittings.
Yep.
So we have chatted about this before, but run us through your wedge fitting process. And how likely is it that the wedge shaft is going to match the shafts for the iron set that you'd fit someone to?
I mean, in terms of the process, we can start there. So our process is to start with the shortest shot. So the shortest shot we measure is 20 yards. Then we step it up in 15-yard increments all the way up to the point where we're hitting full shots. So we want to see how the wedge performs from a launch, spin, turf interaction perspective. I think that's a big thing for us, isn't it? The way we see different grinds go through our hitting surface. See whether they use the bounce. Some people have the shaft leaning forward and don't really use the bounce. So other people lay it open a little more and use it much more. So it really just depends on the style. So we go all the way from 20 yards up to full shots.
Yep.
Once we've analysed what bounce and loft work, we then go into the gapping.
Yes.
So as soon as we do that, then obviously we know whether you're starting at 50, and that's more common now, isn't it? To start 50 degree. So pitch and wedges around 45, 45, 46, then go into 50, then kind of 54,
58-ish.
yeah, 54, 58, or 55, 60, that type of thing. So that's what we do.
When it comes to the longer end of the bag, so determining 5-wood versus strong hybrid versus driving iron.
Yep.
What are the kind of things you assess? What are you looking for in someone's ball flight to give them the best recommendation between the three things?
When we're analyzing the swing, if we're hitting our long irons and 4 or 5 irons and our customers are hitting them a little bit low on the lower end, the 4 and 5 iron, I would always recommend let's hit a couple hybrids, get that ball flight up in the air, landing a little bit more softly on the greens instead of hitting those low screamers. We're always looking to help, and hitting a 4 iron, 20 feet high off the ground versus a hybrid, 40, 50 feet off the ground is obviously going to make quite a bit of difference in the golfer's game.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the stronger the player always leans towards the long iron and the hybrid. There's exceptions, there's players in the PGA Tour that use 5 woods, but generally speaking, it's the hybrid for the club golfer is the more favoured approach out of all of it. I mean, it kind of depends. Obviously, the differences between hybrid and 5 wood, one of the biggest differences is about 2 inches of length in the golf club. So if you have a player maybe who's struggling to get enough leverage and enough distance out of their hybrid, going at the same degree of loft, call it a 19 degree, 20 degrees, something round about that, having that extra 2 inches of length can often generate enough club head speed to get the ball to go a little bit further. The extra ball speed from the extra swing speed is what makes it launch a little bit higher. Yep. The wider body in the 5 wood promotes a higher launch anyway. Wider body, shallower face. So it really depends what you need.
Exactly.
If you need a higher flight, a lower flight, do you need control over distance? How is the gapping or the way around it? But I would say just depending on what you need.
So for a person who's pretty consistent with their irons but is missing a few yards left for a right-handed player, so overdrawing it or pulling it just a hair, would a slightly flatter lie angle be something you'd explore in a fitting?
No Absolutely. Question. That's not
a unanimous yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you look at something like performance between brands of drivers, we actually just did a video on this today, but to what degree, considering they all have different designs, to what degree can you make one company's driver perform like another company's driver? Like, what are you able to tweak to make that happen?
Sure. I mean, you're right. We just done a video on that. So the driver ranges we carry in here: Ping, TaylorMade, Callaway, Titleist, and Cobra. That's our 5 companies that we carry their drivers from. We feel that they all perform very well and equally well in certain people's hands. But the one out of all those drivers that probably we asked for the least is probably the Titleist driver. Yeah. And we've brought it in, for good reason because we think it's a pretty good driver. So we actually done a test tonight. We took Cam's Gamer driver, last year's Epic, great driver, and we tested it against a 917 D3. And I fitted them to it, picked the right shaft, and that's it, sort of thing. And even though the ball speed was slightly lower in the Titleist, we actually hit it a little further. A little further and a little straighter.
Killed the spin a little bit.
Yep, we launched it up a little higher. We spun it a little bit less, so we got a little more optimum, launch conditions, and we actually were able to hit it further. So the key with all of it is all the clubs are great. You just got to go and get custom fit for whatever it is you are. You can't go in there and guess and take a lucky punt at it. You've got to go get fitted, make sure it's right for you, get the right shaft, the right loft setting. The more complicated these drivers are becoming with adjustable hosels and weights and obviously the variables with the shafts, the more it lends itself to you guys having to get fit, because it's just, how do you ever get the right one by just guesswork?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, why do you think iron lofts are stronger now and keep getting stronger every year?
I think it's partly because the DNA of a driver is now in an iron. Yeah. Thin faces, hollow construction, that type of thing. So when we start creating more energy, what that does is we'll increase velocity, and that will lead to height. So they obviously bringing the lofts down a little bit or just allow us to balance the apex of that golf club. For some people, it's not beneficial though.
No. Sometimes when you lower the loft, the spin rates dramatically
they plummet,
decrease.
Yeah.
And you don't want to spin your 6-iron at 4,000 RPMs. You'll never be able to stop one on a green. So
Definitely.
It's good for some people, but then it's totally wrong for another golfer. So we're always really conscious of that when we're doing our fits.
And that's where kind of leaning on us as experts. You can actually be in here hitting on the mats, and actually even the 4,000 spins can actually fly quite nicely.
Yeah.
But the reality is we're not hitting off a perfect lie all the time. So you add any one variable of many into the mix, moisture, rough, any of that stuff, that 4,000 can become 2,200 in a heartbeat.
Really quick.
And then all of a sudden you have no control of the distance.
Yeah.
So that's where the kind of 5,500 RPMs a spin is a little bit better window to start from. Then if that nudges down towards 4,000, you lose 1,500, you're fine.
We're still okay.
You're still going to regulate the distance well enough.
Just a quick short list on driver shafts you recommend for extremely fast swing speeds. So people that are 118 to 125, the super high end.
The quick guys. And if the person who asked that question doesn't mind just adding to that with a tempo answer as well, like do they have quite a fast tempo, or is it speed via swing length? But hit them up with some really good shaft choices there, Cammy.
Tennessee White's very good.
Yep. A lot of PGA Tour usage.
A lot of
Tennessee
guys
White.
use that. Diamond BF series is pretty good for the quicker swing speeds. Justin Thomas uses that.
He's testing the new one, the new White Force.
Yep.
So Blue Force being the blue board, 4th generation blue board.
And then the new White.
Yep.
Acra 300 series M5, 260, 270, or 370, 360.
Tours the Extreme.
Tours the Extreme.
Yeah.
Graphite Design TP6X are for the quicker players. Hazardous Black. We do fairly well with the Hazardous Black. 6.5 flex would be my recommendation for a swing speed that quick.
I mean, you see. There's definitely some of the tour guys are enjoying the Acra stuff, and the stronger players. Look at Tony Finau playing the 485 M5, which is an absolute beast of a shaft. It's a pole. Gary Woodland using the RPG shaft, which again, from a tip flex perspective, is exceptionally stiff. Yeah. So, those guys are really making some phenomenal product. Hazardous T1100 is even stiffer again, isn't it? It's another 1.5 times stiffer than the Hazardous Black. So definitely some really stiff stuff there. And
specifically, you just mentioned it's a fast tempo swing.
Fast tempo.
So what of those? What would you say would be your number?
So when it comes to the tempo, if you're fast, lean towards a little bit more weight. So that's go with, like we said, like the Acra 475 M5, the Tours the Extreme. The T1100 75 gram would be really good for that as well. Like Cam said, the Tennessee White 70 TX.
Grams.
Yep.
So just circling back with Drake on his M2 driver he mentioned. So it's actually an 11.5 degree driver. So he had it fit that way to get the launch angle up, but still too much spin. So obviously, would you say that a lower spin head is going to be a better option? Something like the Sub-Zero Epic or Sub-Zero Rogue now or something like that. Is that the best way for him to knock spin off, or is there a shaft that would make a similar kind of difference?
So spin creation is going to come from the dynamic loft of the driver combined with the angle of attack of the delivery. Obviously face angle and strike point are in there as well, but if 11.5 is kind of proven to be a little bit too much spin, drop the loft down a little bit.
Yeah.
Really bugs me when I hear people say, oh, you know, you should be in a 10 or 11 degree driver because they're more forgiving than 8s. It's not. You know, if somebody delivers an 8 degree loft with more dynamic loft, and someone takes a 12 and de-lofts it, it's whatever the delivered loft.
Yep,
That's how the club becomes forgiving, you know, or not from a loft dynamic loft perspective. Those heads, an 8 degree head isn't you know, like a blade to a high lofted head like a cavity back. It just doesn't work that way. It's all about delivered loft.
Yeah.
So you know, don't be scared to try some lower lofted drivers.
Question about coming in for a fitting.
Yep.
Is there a time of the year that you recommend relative to the season? Obviously, different parts of the country have a different season, but let's say off season versus beginning of the season versus mid season. What do you think about that if someone has the option?
I mean, nothing wrong with coming at the start of the season.
No.
We just ask that, you know, people take a little bit of time before they come in to practice, do a little practice.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't come in if you haven't hit golf balls since your last round of last year.
Yeah.
Come see us after you hit a couple of balls.
Yeah.
You know, April, May time's not a bad time, but also September, October is also not a bad time either when you've been swinging the club all year and
Definitely.
you know, fit into, you know, a proper gear. But just make, you know, when you come in, just make sure, you know, your swing's been grooved in for a little while.
Without a doubt. I mean, that's this time of year is when people want to come in because they're excited to try all the new gear, that type of thing. You know, we've all been in sort of golf hibernation for the last
Ready to go.
4 or 5 months, so we're itching to get at it. So we understand how excited everyone is to come out this time of year, but just, you know, take a little time and go to the range or the dome, or, you know, maybe even take a couple lessons.
Yep.
Not the worst thing to get a little tune up as well. Make sure your swing sort of feels like what you're used to.
Very specific shaft question. 7679 flex code X shaft. What is it? 7679 flex code X shaft. What is that? Is that a?
Is that a brand or?
I'll have to clarify.
757 speeder.
7, 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll try and
yeah.
see if we can get a little more info on that when we'll come back to it.
We've had some questions about the live fitting show we did last week was actually really well, or sorry, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Maybe getting Cam up and trying a little fitting on something. We did a driver. You guys want to maybe try hitting some fairway woods or something like that, and kind of take them through a quick process, and you guys can talk shafts and let people chime in with some questions while we do it.
You do that.
Yep, sure. What would you want to do? I mean, fairway wood's quite a tough one just from a standing start. We'll do a little iron fit.
Let's do an iron fit. Yeah, I haven't done one in a while. Yeah, let's do an iron fit.
Let's do that. So you've not, you've got your Titleist clubs, but we'll look at some different shafts and that type of
let's look at
stuff.
some different. I play X1s right now, so let's see if we could.
Cool. And then keep the questions coming as we go. Cool.
Okay.
Okay, let's set this up for you, Cam. And even if there's some questions, Matty, that come in while
We can
we're
answer
doing this,
while we're-
we can.
Talk and answer, I guess.
Yep.
Let's stay in the frame here.
Actually, quick question already.
Okay.
Do you guys use hot melt in drivers and fairways?
We do.
What?
We do. When required. I mean, I think it's probably. We use it probably less because the nature of just how adjustable heads are from a weight perspective now. But you know, if if a customer has an acoustic preference, or maybe we can't get enough weight into that head in order to get it to the preferred weight, we'll certainly use hot melt, no problem. The only thing with hot melt relative to using adjustable weights is once it's in, it's in. You know, so that's, you know, it's not, we don't have the luxury of our tour truck to be able to go, oh, that didn't work out, let's toss that head to one side and we'll start again.
Just got clarification on that shaft. So with a tour issue Miyazaki Kazuma Black 6X, 7679, I guess is the.
Got you. No, not one of the ones. To be honest, I stopped looking at Miyazaki's shafts. Basically, when they just started concentrating being in Cleveland product and that sort of thing, so they kind of pulled out the aftermarket. You know, I was very familiar with the Sikua, the Calusa, those types of shafts, but that one doesn't ring any bells for me. I've been away from Miyazaki for quite a long time.
As part of the club building process, do you guys ever grind irons the way you might grind a wedge?
Have done if there's someone needs especially a little leading edge relief.
Yep.
We have to grind a little bit of the leading edge away just for some better turf interaction. Yep.
Wedges as well.
Okay, Cam, I'm going to get you into. I'm going to get you started with a little treat here, little Mura 1957 CB.
Nice.
One of the benefits of a shop like ours is we get to try the really nice stuff.
Yeah. And our Club Connects allows us to pop in any shaft we'd like, which is nice. Within about 10 seconds, we can change anything we want. So we have
Mura 1957 CB. The shaft is Cam's Dynamic Gold X100. That's what he plays right now. Six iron, Cameron.
okay.
Okay. No pressure, live TV. Okay. A couple of little chippy ones just to get you started.
Yep. Swing one over here.
Swing there, Cam. Solid. Any other questions coming in there, Matty? What we got?
Razor.
Actually, a fairway wood question related to lie angle. So how much do you guys consider lie angle when it comes to 5 woods, 3 woods, hybrids, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, we consider it. You know, it's just whether we can do anything sort of about it. You know, I know Callaway with the new Rogue line are conscious that you can actually you can bend it now, so that the heads are adjustable, so you can flatten them if you want. I was really happy to see somebody who likes a stronger 3-wood. The new Rogue 3 Plus is 55 degrees, so it's really quite flat. The standard one is 57 degrees, so that's a nice little option for us.
Just switch back the fairway wood there, Fraz. So just go into there and just type
Good
in
spot,
the search.
Cammy.
Yeah.
Good spot.
Now we're good to go. All right.
Okay, if that feels like it's there you go. Really good.
Like that flight.
Nice, Cammy. Nice. How does that feel?
Feels great.
Yeah,
Soft feel.
they really do.
I'm obviously really used to the shaft, but the
So we're just clarifying on that shaft again. Just mainly what they want to know is how much distance can you lose from not being able to load a shaft properly. So if you don't have enough speed or tempo to load the shaft, what exactly goes on?
Sure. Well, you're going to have a really inconsistent strike point, so you're not going to be able to get the shaft working effectively for you. So when the shaft is working the way it should, it should actually be working in what we call lead deflection. So the head should be accelerating, obviously, on the downswing. So, you know, that's the main thing. If you don't get a shaft working in deflection, you're losing a lot of speed. So there's about 7 miles an hour difference between how a shaft will work efficiently and inefficiently. That's from the guys at Fujikura on their Enzo machine, which is kind of the world's most sophisticated shaft profile machine in dynamic motion. Okay, Cammy, I'm going to just change that out for you.
Good.
Okay.
Felt great.
Yep.
Felt really good. Strike point was pretty close, so.
Okay, so I didn't like when I saw the kind of a lower swooping flight.
Yeah.
As far as you hit it, that type of ball flight is going to be pretty harmful.
Yeah.
Only flying at 82 feet.
And I like something.
We got to be flying at minimum 105.
Yeah.
For you,
yeah.
Minimum. Okay. Right. Okay, let's give this a little try.
Okay.
So, Matt, this is the Strixon Z975.
Same shaft.
965. 965,
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, we're excited for Strixon are launching their new irons in the fall this year. So the 8.5 series, if the last two are anything to go by, we're going to be in for a real treat. Okay, Cam, let's just see you work it the other way a little bit.
Okay.
Okay, start it a little more left. Okay, getting a little turf interaction with this one, eh?
Yeah, I'm hitting the ground a lot more behind it.
Okay.
That's remember when I tested these, had the same type of
Struggled a little with them.
struggle, yeah. I'm already pretty steep.
Yeah. Okay. Not so keen on that one.
No.
Thank you. Matt, any other questions coming in?
Yep, so got a good iron question actually.
Go for it.
So a player that spins the irons too much, close to 1,000 too much.
Okay.
7-iron speed is around 96 mile an hour, so quick, obviously.
Quick, yeah.
Medium tempo to get rid of some of that spin. What shaft would be a good option?
I'd give him a few shafts to work off of. I would give him Modus. Definitely give him Modus 120 TX. This the most tip stiff of all the Modus shafts. If you're able to get your hands on a Nippon Super Peening Blue, 129 grams in the X-Flex, but really smooth. Really good at lowering the flight without feeling like it's overly boardy.
How do you spell it?
Super Peening, so P-E-E-N-I-N-G.
Blue?
Yep. Yep. So that's a unique one. A lot of people maybe not heard of that shaft. The peening process was an application to the outside of the shaft to give it a little bit more strength to the structure of the shaft. So stops it ovaling, improves the ball speed retention. I mean, I don't tend to find that for somebody who's, I know dynamic gold shafts are considered lower launch, lower spin. I don't find them though to be spin reducing shafts. I tend to find more of that from Project X type of profiles. So
Project X 6.5 or 7 for
yeah,
someone
like
with that kind of speed.
6.5 would probably be good. The problem you can often have though is that your needs from a ball flight perspective don't quite match what you like from a feel perspective. So, if you're mid-tempo, you probably aren't going to enjoy the feel of a Project X. You kind of have to load a Project X in order to get it to feel quite good. But I wouldn't be against them trying a Project X 6.5. I think that could really help. Other thing is as well, don't look too much towards the shaft to kill the spin. I would look more towards what the DNA of that head is in order to kill the spin. Okay, can I hit a couple of that one for me? So we've got this is sticking with a blade, but going with a slightly different profile for cam. This is called the Mura 5005.
All right.
Okay. Can I?
Question on another iron shaft. Someone was fitted for the Project
That's
X
my ball flight there.
LZ 5.5.
Yep.
They picked up some speed since then. They've got a 6 iron swing speed of about 92 to 94.
Okay.
Is that kind of getting borderline to need to go up?
Yeah, for sure. Is it? Yeah, it would be, no question. I mean, I was going to. My next question was what launch monitor was it read at 92 to 94? Because there is a difference between whether that's a Foresight unit or a TrackMan unit. But even with both of those, yeah, I would say you're probably out of the 5.5s at that point. 6. Yeah, 6 and a conversation about 6.5. I mean, PGA Tour average right now is around 92, 93 with that 6 iron, so it's pretty quick.
On TrackMan outdoors. So
it's legit. Yeah, so I mean that's not that it's not legit with Foresight, but it's the quickest version of it. So yeah, 92, 93 is 92, 94 is really quick.
So on Foresight that might be closer to 97, 98.
90 probably in 96 to 98. Yeah.
So plenty of speed for 6.5.
Tons and tons. Yeah, I would say X Flex for sure. Again, though, go test it and go find out. Okay, a little change, Cammy. See if we can,
I had
change
one.
how the shaft
The
is
second
flipped.
one before I hit really well. I'm starting to get.
Second one was good, yeah.
I gave it a little more what I usually swing at, but.
How'd that feel?
Really good. Really good.
Too good.
Too good.
So as Cam's hitting these, how much are you keeping in mind the fact that you might be giving him different swing weighted irons?
Yeah, no question.
Absolutely.
The balance point's different in all these, depending on what I'm trying to do. So, I'm always trying to influence the swing by whatever I give the player from a swing weight perspective. Yeah.
You tend to get that feedback from him anyway, in that a certain iron he's striking well, likes the feel of it, and then you'll kind of get an idea.
Hear a lot of turf interaction with good players. How the club is obviously coming through impact gives you so much feedback as to what's going on. Okay, Cam, I'm going to make a little adjustment to this one.
Okay.
I'm going to just give you a little bit of a flatter lie angle, a little more loft. Give you a little more loft, Cammy. Just that was a little too. That first one you hit so good was just a little too strong.
What was it sitting at?
Sitting at 28.
Okay.
You don't need it that.
No, I usually play it around 30.
Okay. The camera on.
Okay, bud.
Made a little adjustment. So,
Okay.
Matt, just nudge the loft up 2 degrees. So we're now at 30. We're at 30, and we're at 59.5 lie angle. So we've gone a little flatter as well.
Is that 1 degree flat?
It's actually 2.5. Standard North American standard for a lie angle in a 6-iron would be considered 62. Some companies vary, but we would kind of consider that the baseline for a 6-iron's lie angle.
All right, boys and gals.
You okay to rapid fire a few questions while you're
Yeah,
doing
of
that?
course. Yeah, love it.
So, you know, golfer that had purchased the G400 Max,
Yep.
stiff flex stock shaft, moved up to a stiff, was previously in a regular, and is finding it harder to turn the ball over. So, I guess the question would be, sounds like they have plenty of speed for the stiff.
Sure.
What kind of shafts, again, just a couple, would be good for maintaining that kind of stiffness profile, but allowing them to turn it over a little bit easier?
And he's got the stock one right now? Okay. I mean, they could be having, if it's a stock ping shaft, it's the counterbalance, the CB, which is it's called the Alta shaft, which is, you know, some people can have an adverse reaction to counterbalance and don't rotate the head as much. Some will rotate it more, but I would say going with something that has a more active, slightly more active tip section would definitely be beneficial. In the aftermarket world, I would use something like a Graphite design MJ. Would definitely help that. You know, a Fujikura Speeder Evolution 3 has a little bit of a softer tip section. Okay, that's a bit better distance-wise.
A little bit better distance-wise. Still haven't.
So turning it a little bit.
Still turning a little bit. There's a little yank there. Ball speeds are good. And
Yep, came down a little bit.
okay, one more here.
A little heavy.
Will you guys be adding the O-band shafts at any time in the future?
Not planning to right now. Yeah, not planning to right now. I think a lot of their shafts, I think they're very, very good. It's just, you're spoiled for choice in the market these days. You know, we have Acra, Fujikura, Graphite Design, Valix, TPT now. We've just added to the lineup. Obviously, we do some Project X Hazardous and Evenflow, that type of stuff. So, yeah, I love O-band products. I think the world of the guys from the company. We're so busy with what we have right now.
Bit of an unusual question, but someone who's broken several driver shafts during a swing, are there companies you know of that are, you know, a little stronger construction that they might want to try to kind of mitigate that kind of thing happening?
Yeah, that's unusual for sure. We honestly, I don't have that issue with any of the companies we deal with. So any of the ones I just mentioned, I would certainly wholeheartedly recommend. You know, we'd maybe want to know a little bit about the shafts that are breaking.
It was an Alda Rogue shaft, apparently.
Yeah, no real reason for that to have broken. I mean, if it's the 125 MSI, which is the really high-end Rogue, I mean, those are some of the strongest strength to weight ratio materials on the planet. So I wouldn't think that there's too much of an
Could
issue.
just be a one-off kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Try and hit a little fade so you're not sick of hitting me hit a draw all day.
Yeah, just you're fighting your swing a little bit there, Cam.
Yeah.
You're fighting your swing till you're steep. You're right.
Like that all
You
day.
got to get a little bit shallower there.
Yeah.
You're just getting that. Your angle of attack is working down too much. That's where you're losing all your loft.
Exactly.
But that's okay. That's what happens.
And hit one more.
Okay, give us the. Start it in the flight window up here. Give us the nice high fade. Okay, create a little bit more natural loft. Didn't get the contact, so do that again. Same again. Any other questions coming in, Matty, while Cam's hitting?
Question about
That's
ideal spin rate for a 3-wood.
Sure.
110 swing speed. So, a good fairway finding club, not crazy long, but a good balanced fit.
3,200 be about ideal. Yep. That allows it to be a really nice club off the tee, back up the driver, and also, pretty good for off the turf. You can afford to drop the spin rate. I would say for the average golfer, 3,500 is more like the number you're looking for, but 110 swing speed, certainly you'd have enough velocity to handle 3,200.
The G400 irons with the stock AWT shafts.
Yep.
Someone noticed that their gaps between the 7 and 4 kind of tightened up, so they're kind of hitting them closer to the same distance. Is that an issue of a too light a shaft, or what would you recommend to remedy that?
Is that who asked that question? Nigel. Nigel, excellent. I'm glad you sent that question in, Nigel. Now I got your email with regards to the gapping on your set. So when I looked at your numbers specifically, Nigel, what I actually saw was the biggest issue was you don't separate your irons from a club speed standpoint. That's actually your biggest issue. So if you look at the progression of spin and launch and all that sort of stuff, it's all actually not too bad. But if I look back, if I remember, I think you swing your 8-iron faster than you swing your 5-iron, if I remember the numbers that you sent me. So the velocity that you create is actually the biggest issue with not having the correct gapping. So, I would look at a few different ways of your set. I'd look at the shaft, I'd look at the length, I'd look at swing weight, those types of things. So most important thing is you've got to have you've got to have incremental improvements in speed. But I'm glad thanks for sending that one in. I wanted to touch on that one tonight.
Getting back to, we were talking about the stock shaft and the G400 Max. They actually were having an issue overdrawing it. So what would be we mentioned softer tip if they were having trouble drawing it, but if they're overdrawing it, what kind of a profile of shaft would help kind of keep that down the right side more?
For me, this is where the confusion comes in the market with regards to what a shaft is actually capable of doing. When it comes, a shaft is designed to create energy. So I wouldn't really be, trying to get a shaft to influence curvature too much. I'd be looking at, G400 Max is a club with lots of offset, a really wide body, and it's kind of designed to sling over a little bit. So, maybe G400 G400 Max. G400 Max maybe isn't the right head. Maybe something a little less offset would be more appropriate.
Question about shafts. Do you guys have any manufacturer's stock shafts? Do you fit those at all, or do you just do aftermarket?
Nope. We have some stock shafts. We have Ping's Alta stock shafts right on our wall because Ping actually designed them themselves. So we carry those, and in the back we do carry some other shafts.
We carry some TaylorMade, some Callaway, some stock product if that's our request from the customer. We're more than happy to test that, and obviously then we can test that and see how it stacks up against the aftermarket world and see if there's any value in it.
The Tour Z RPG, that's an Acro shaft.
RPG, yeah.
Versus the 465 M5. Just briefly outline what the differences are between those two and what kind of players do those suit.
Yeah. Well, the RPG, so Acra uses a little code on their shaft. So the first number basically determines the tip profile. So Acra go 100 for the softest tip, 400 for the stiffest tip. So if it's the original RPG we're talking about, we're looking at a 362. So 62 being the gram weight, 3 being the tip flex. So the Tour Z Extreme would be a slightly stiffer tipped shaft than the RPG. RPG being the old rocket launcher, that's where it comes from. The butt section is really stiff in an RPG, super stiff. Yeah. So actually it's probably good for some of the lower spinning heads, but even fairway woods the RPG is really good for. Acra had some crazy success some years back with some, so I think it was the XC80 was the shaft that they had some great success with on tour. And, the butt section was pretty heavy and stiff, and the tip section was a little bit softer, and that was really well received on tour. So, I would say Tour Z Extreme being slightly stiffer.
True Temper AMT iron shafts. Mm-hmm. You guys stock those?
Yep.
And
we do.
And do you fit many people for them?
Yeah, definitely. If we see someone like Nigel is a good example of why you would use an ascending mass set of iron shafts. So the AMTs go in 3 gram increments from the call it the 4 iron all the way to the wedge. So 112, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 130 in the wedge. So they increase as they go up. So for somebody who's looking to create more speed in the long irons, the AMTs are a really good option.
Shaft droop.
Yep.
Briefly explain what that means.
So we have a 262 gram weight on the end of the shaft. So in motion, the CG of this wants to align with the CG of the shaft. So what that will do is will naturally cause the shaft to deflect downwards. So it will deflect, in lead deflection. It won't deflect at trail, but it will deflect in various amounts of lead, but will also go down. So that's why, when someone sits with an iron that sits a little bit off the ground, hopefully you can see that, a little bit toe up, that's okay. That's kind of going to allow for a little bit of that droop on the way down.
Quick question on Tiger again.
Yep.
So there's been some coverage that he's been playing around with the weights in his M3.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, realistically, how much difference is that going to make for someone who's having some trouble? Like Tiger's hitting it pretty wayward.
Yeah.
So really going to make that big of a difference to move some of those weights around, or is that just fine tuning?
Very much fine tuning. Probably feel a lot of the feel of where he feels that club. I mean, we're dealing with obviously a different animal altogether and someone who's skilled as that. But
it's a lot of his swing right now.
A lot of his swing, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's.
We could all see it.
Yeah, I was kind of a little uncomfortable watching some of those driver swings the last couple of weeks, where you can really see he's working into sort of pelvic extension again, and the club's kind of falling behind him, and he's flipping it. I just go, geez, don't injure your back again. I think he's just tweaking that about a little, Matty, trying to find something. I mean, it was really disappointing to see. Obviously, after Albany, and then when he was testing M3, he was openly telling everyone his ball speed was up in the low 180s. And I remember watching it last week just going, that doesn't look very fast anymore.
No.
And then they posted some coverage of his ball speed numbers, and he was in the low 170s. So that kind of tells you where he was at with his driver swing. He's trying to dial it back a little bit.
And what about him going to a stiffer shaft? I mean, was that any merit to that in terms of what he was experiencing?
It's just kind of going back to something he was familiar with.
Really swung that shaft really well for a couple of years. So
yeah, no, he just. I mean, he's tried that shaft before, the TP HD by Matrix, and really liked it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think he's just
back in his old putter. He's a man of habit, right? So he kind of likes what he likes, and he kind of sticks kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
How are we doing with the iron fitting?
Well, we could have got some decent stuff going with the Project X. Cam was struggling a little bit with his swing tonight.
Swing's not all there today.
It's not all there.
We made Cam hit a lot of balls today.
We've been doing some videos for you guys, and hopefully you'll get a chance to see those over the next few days. So
we'll do a proper one.
We'll do it. But I mean, for Cam, for example, you've used the same shaft for a long time, haven't you?
Yeah,
And,
long time.
You know, it's nice
Forever.
to try some different
Yeah,
stuff. Like
yeah.
even like I'm seeing straight away when you hit that there, I saw the spin spike up a little bit. I love
Yeah.
seeing that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's good to try different stuff. Okay,
Okay.
good. Guys, thanks so much. We had a blast as always. Any follow-up questions, just keep leaving them in the comments below. We're actually going to be running some competitions in the next couple of weeks, so we'll be in touch with you guys on that. We've got some really cool giveaways, some unbelievable product, just as a thank you to you guys for subscribing,
and being active and watching
Definitely.
our videos.
We absolutely love it. The feedback is great. Good or bad, you know.
Yeah.
Trust me, we read and
take 'em all. We read
take
every
it all
comment.
in. You know, if there's ways in which we can make it better, same as what we do in here, we want to be the best at it. So we're going to keep working at it to give you guys the best content available. So we really appreciate it.